Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something pretty fundamental in the professional world: management versus leadership.
Right, you hear those terms all the time, don't you?
Yes.
Often used like they mean the same thing.
Exactly. But that really glosses over some crucial differences. So, our mission in this deep dive is to get clear on these. We're drawing from Tom Dowling's article, The Difference Between Management and Leadership.
A fairly recent piece.
Yeah. And the goal here is for you listening to get a sharper understanding, maybe see your own job, your team, how you're managed, or how you manage others a bit differently.
It applies whether you're leading, being led, or just part of a team, really.
Definitely. Okay, let's unpack this.
Right. So maybe start with management. The article positions it as fundamentally tied to a role in an organization.
The specific role. Yeah.
Yeah. When you become a manager, it's not just a title change. You get a set of authorities, specific powers baked into that role, a kind of toolkit.
Absolutely. And it's not abstract, is it? This toolkit, it's tangible stuff. The
Yeah.
article mentions defining roles and responsibilities for your team.
Yep. And assigning those roles.
Yeah.
So deciding who does what, promotions, who gets put on which project.
Key ways a manager shapes the work. And
Yeah.
then there's the formal performance evaluations. That's a big one.
Huge. Those are foundational. But the authority, it goes further.
Okay.
Well, this toolkit also includes hiring people,
Yeah.
bringing them onto the team.
And the flip side, firing people, making those tough calls.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also managing company resources. Things like approving time off, deciding on, say, learning and development budgets.
Right, stuff that's usually under a manager's control. So, okay, management gives you this formal power structure, but the article says that authority is only one side of the coin. What's the other essential part?
Accountability, that's the indispensable counterpart.
Accountability. Oh, yeah.
So while your team members, the individual contributors, they might be responsible for doing specific tasks.
Like writing the code or making the sales call.
Precisely. But the manager is the one who is accountable for the team's overall results. The buck stops with them, essentially, for the successes and the failures.
Got it. So the marketing person is responsible for the social media post, but the marketing manager is accountable for the campaign hitting its goals.
Exactly that. And the article cleverly points out how that manager's toolkit, those powers we talked about, is used directly to meet those accountabilities.
How so?
Well, they define roles to make sure everyone knows what they're responsible for. They assign tasks strategically to get the job done well. They evaluate performance to see if things are on track.
And they use hiring and firing to build the right team. It all links back.
It all connects back to being accountable for the outcome.
And it's interesting how this accountability kind of flows down through an organization, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
the CEO is ultimately accountable,
Right.
and then that cascades down through directors, managers, team leads.
That's basic organizational structure, yeah.
Yeah.
Each manager is accountable for their piece of their own manager's bigger picture, a chain of accountability.
The article used an analogy I liked: management as the central nervous system of the company, coordinating all the individual parts, the muscles.
The good visual for that coordination function, definitely,
Yeah.
helps grasp how management pulls things together.
But then it threw in another one, which I thought was pretty, well, the article called it dope, the octopus.
Ah, yes, the octopus,
Mm.
with its distributed nervous system,
Yeah.
where each arm has a sort of mind of its own, a lot of autonomy.
Yeah. Which hints at maybe a different way things could work. More decentralized, more empowered teams, less top-down control needed.
It certainly makes you think about alternative models. But as the article stresses, we're mainly focused here on just understanding the structure of management itself, what it is.
Right, not necessarily how well it's done or different styles yet, just the fundamentals.
Exactly, laying the groundwork. So should we pivot to leadership now?
Okay, perfect. We've got a handle on the mechanics of management, the role, the authority, the accountability. Now, leadership. What's the article's take on that?
It's actually very direct. Leadership, according to this definition, is simply when people follow you willingly, without being forced.
Willingly. That's the key word, isn't it?
Absolutely critical, because it contrasts sharply with that authority that comes baked into the manager role.
So just having the manager title doesn't automatically make you a leader?
Not according to this definition, no. The article is explicit.
Yeah.
Using your authority, your power, to make people do things. That is specifically not leadership.
Interesting. So forcing compliance isn't leading.
Correct. True leadership here is about inspiring people, motivating them to follow because of you, or your vision or your approach, not because of your position on the org chart.
Okay, so if it's not do this because I'm the boss, What does leadership look like? What are the actions?
Well, the article lists quite a few. It's things like speaking up, offering your opinions, your recommendations, persuading people.
So influencing.
Yes, influencing and involving people, making them feel part of the decision, giving them a sense of ownership. Also, really understanding what makes individuals tick, what motivates them, what demotivates them.
Right, so it's more about connection and understanding than just giving orders. With
Exactly.
you.
Seeking consent, building consensus,
Hmm.
empowering others, giving them the autonomy to make decisions in their own areas.
Handing over control, in a way.
To some extent, yes, trusting them. And, crucially, setting a positive example yourself, walking the talk.
And a really important point the article makes is that this isn't limited by hierarchy, right? Anyone can lead.
That's vital. You
Yeah.
don't need a title. You can lead your peers. You can even lead upwards, influence your own manager.
How so?
The example given is making a really good recommendation to a senior leader. If they adopt it because your argument was compelling, you've shown leadership, even without any formal authority over them.
That makes sense. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. We've got management, authority, accountability, and leadership. Willing followership, influence. What happens when you have one without the other? Let's start with management without leadership. What does that look like?
Yeah, the article doesn't pull punches here. It suggests that could be a pretty miserable environment.
Miserable, okay.
It's characterized by that do what I say because I'm the boss attitude, command and control.
Doesn't sound very motivating. What are the likely results?
Well, the best case scenario, the article says, might be that roles are just super rigidly defined. People can function, sort of, by just blindly following the rules.
Okay, just doing the bare minimum to comply.
Pretty much. But even then, there's no real engagement, no spark beyond just ticking the boxes.
And the worst case?
That sounds considerably worse. It's managers who rely solely on their authority and, frankly, threats, maybe implied threats to get things done.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
often means a lack of fairness, not much consideration for people, poor communication.
Mm.
You might see hypocrisy managers not following the rules they set for others.
Double standard.
Exactly. And people being left out of decisions that affect them,
Yeah.
leading to nasty surprises. A culture of uncertainty.
That sounds like it would just crush morale, create a lot of resentment.
It does. The article talks about a culture of fear developing, blame gets shifted around easily, new people get thrown in the deep end, sink or swim.
No support.
Right. And the outcomes for the team members, well, they tend to just keep their heads down, avoid taking any risks. Or they quit. Or, unfortunately, they get fired because the expectations weren't clear or achievable.
Yeah, I think we can all probably picture environments like that, sadly.
It resonates, unfortunately.
And the article makes a sharp point about calling a group of autocratic managers a leadership team.
Oh, yeah. That's just inaccurate, according to this view. If people are only following orders because they have to or out of fear,
It's just a management team, not leadership.
precisely, it's leadership in name only.
Mm-hmm.
And one other thing the article notes sometimes, when managers get really stressed or overloaded,
Yep.
they might unintentionally revert to that more autocratic, management-heavy style. Less leadership, more just directing. It can be a sign they're overwhelmed.
That's a really useful observation. Pressure can squeeze out the leadership. Okay, so that's management without leadership, not a great picture. What about the flip side? Leadership without management authority.
This is viewed much more positively in the article. It suggests that a really high-functioning team could potentially operate almost entirely on leadership.
Really? How would that work? Almost self-managing.
Essentially, yeah. It would mean you'd need incredibly strong leadership skills spread throughout the team members themselves.
Not just one leader.
No, distributed leadership. People proactively figuring out the direction, naturally taking on roles that fit, owning their work, holding each other accountable for performance.
Wow.
The article even floats the idea that the team could collectively identify the need for new skills and maybe even find the right people.
That requires a huge amount of trust and maturity in the team. It's a cool idea, though.
Aspirational, perhaps, but highlights the power of leadership. And the article argues that even if you are a manager, you get better results long-term by leading first, not just managing. Meaning you build trust and get better outcomes by inspiring people rather than just telling them what to do because you have the authority. Every time you have to pull rank, use your formal power.
It chips away at that trust.
That's the implication. Using authority should be maybe a last resort, not the default. Build followership first.
That makes a lot of sense. If you always have to say, because I said so, something's probably not right with the relationship.
Exactly. The article mentions an engineering manager who specifically looks for and tries to develop leadership skills in their team members.
Why?
The stated goal is to build self-sufficient teams that can run themselves effectively with less direct oversight.
So what kind of leadership behaviors are they looking for in team members?
Things like becoming a technical go-to person others rely on, people who actively contribute ideas and retrospectives to make things better, individuals who can step up and run a meeting effectively or make sound decisions on their own.
So it's about distributing that responsibility and influence,
Yeah.
less reliance on the single manager figure.
Precisely. And the article concludes that, look, while maybe some minor issues could pop up if you had zero formal management structure at all,
Yeah.
those potential problems are far less common and far less damaging than the problems you get from management that completely lacks leadership.
That's a strong statement. It really argues for prioritizing leadership across the board. Okay, so if we boil this all down, what's the core takeaway, the absolute key distinction?
I think it boils down to this. Management gives you the structure, the
Yeah.
roles, the authority, the accountability framework. It's how things are organized.
Right, the skeleton.
Yeah, good analogy.
Hmm.
Leadership, on the other hand, provides the motivation, the direction people want to move in, the why, and the willingness, regardless of the formal structure.
And they aren't mutually exclusive, are they? The best situations probably have both working together.
Absolutely. Ideally, you have solid management structures providing clarity and process, but the day-to-day energy, the drive, the innovation that comes from leadership being alive and well throughout the team.
So even if the manager has the formal authority, a great team runs on the leadership shown by everyone. The manager might not even need to use that authority very often if the leadership is strong.
That's the idea. Anyone on the team can, and probably should, step up and lead in different ways at different times.
So what does this all mean for you listening?
Well, it suggests that understanding this difference is really valuable no matter what your job title is.
Yeah, whether you're the CEO, a brand new manager, just starting out, knowing the difference matters. Management sets the stage, leadership lights it up.
Exactly. And maybe the best workplaces are the ones where management actively tries to grow leadership everywhere, creates that culture of people stepping up, feeling engaged, sharing ownership.
It encourages you to look past the org chart, doesn't it? See who's really influencing things, inspiring people, regardless of their title.
Definitely. It's about impact, not just position.
Okay, so for our final thought today, maybe something for you to mull over. Think about your own work experiences, teams you're on now or ones you've been part of in the past. Where have you seen management working without much real leadership? Or maybe leadership bubbling up, even without a formal manager steering everything?
What did that feel like? What were the results?
Yeah, what did those situations teach you about the power of each one? And maybe the most practical question, how can you use this understanding wherever you sit in an organization to help foster better, more engaging ways of working together?
Lots to think about there.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.